I'm saying I've had 1,000 solutions over the last couple of 3 weeks based on this new event, right? So we had solutions in the past, like I say, 1986 Israel, and we could have changed the name. We should have changed the name. It's too sectarian. Anybody who thinks that Israel is not a sectarian name, not sectarian, is lying to themselves. So we're looking at sort of the invasion of Gaza now by Israel, full scale, it looks like, escalating a little bit here. Definitely not going to be a good outcome no matter how you look at it. So the solutions come from a different level that cannot be explained in a video like this. So I'm just talking about this because, you know, I'm seeing this escalation, and yeah, it's sad after having been there in a more hopeful time. Various political and global forces have manipulated Israel and the region to where it is now. Those global forces include certainly America and its military, which we have to question that as well, because there's oil and gas under Gaza and offshore Gaza, right? Gazans can't access it. They don't have the technology, the power, or, you know, and if they tried to, they probably, you know, if they got some corporation to come and build up in some oil rigs or something, they probably get blown up. They don't have the money or organization for that. And then the offshore gas wells, I think it's gas offshore. They can't even go there. The ports are blockaded by Israel. So, you know, when you know that the US military, the biggest military on earth by far, ridiculous fossil fuel burning monstrosity around the world, the biggest single burner of fossil fuels of any single entity in the world. So you wonder if that whole system, I'm not saying there's some general going, haha, let's go get that gas, but that whole system might be building up through Israel and other places. With Israel as a sort of almost like a puppet in the whole system of resource allocation that's needed for the US military for the next 30 years. They have to look ahead 30 years. That's how dependent they are, because they think that the world needs them. They think America needs them, and therefore they think they have to make sure they've got enough fuel for the next 30 years. 30 years. So that's speculative, but other than that, Israel has definitely been embroiled, and so like in a web that filters out into the massive political, military, news media, industrial complex. So that whole complex, it's a system, it's systemic. So whatever problems are in a system, it's systemic. It's hard to break. And Israel's just like a pawn in all that. So, almost like a pawn. I mean, they think that it's all about preserving themselves and they're getting help from America. But it's not really. It's more like having a place in the Middle East, which can be a bit of a spur or a pain in the side a thorn in the side to the other countries where there's oil around there. Now you find out there's oil in Gaza. Woohoo! There you go. So Israel is not an independent country. It's part of a massive, powerful system that makes its own power, military power, political power, and even influence look like a joke compared to the power that it is embroiled with. So when you say, do you support Israel, you're asking me, do I support the Western hegemonic military, industrial, political, murdering, news media, you name it, complex, that whole complex that in my lifetime has been committing massive war crimes, in my opinion. I mean, Iraq was one. There were no WMDs, but you killed off 500,000 people and 1 million displaced, something like that. Afghanistan was your big disaster. Lost that war. Lost the Vietnam War. Lost massive money and blood lost in Afghanistan. Iraq war, you might say that is sort of okay, except Syria's involved. It's all kind of involved there. There's no barrier, but there's no real barrier between what goes on in Syria and the dangers to Iraq. So I guess, yeah, maybe you'll say Iraq is Americanized or something. But certainly Libya, you lost that war. You killed Gaddafi, but the place went into chaos. You didn't solve anything. Made things worse. And you've lost the Ukraine war because Russia was never trying to take over the whole Ukraine, topple the government and put everyone at gunpoint. That's not what they were doing. They were going for those eastern provinces where there was so much trouble going on right on their border, right? People were firing missiles at passenger planes, and then people will say, well, that was Russians. No, it wasn't. It might have been a Russian person who's got nothing to do with Russia, a group. But there were so many fascists and gangsters and all sorts of criminal elements in the eastern provinces and around the Black Sea that they thought they had to do something about it, and they did. And so they took those eastern provinces. They were never trying to topple the government of Ukraine, which is the great blunder or lie, but mostly a blunder of the Western world and everyone else to have thought they were trying to topple Ukraine. You lost that war. Russia won. They've got what they came for. End of. And they will hold it. That's the end of it. So, and you just ruined Zelensky and everybody, you know. He's sort of been forgotten. His only choice now is maybe to become a dictator or sidle up to Russia, or he'll get deposed and someone else will become a dictator and sidle up to Russia. So, well done, NATO, you clowns. US intelligence, all of you. Absolute clowns. So, yeah, do you support that whole complex that to me is a clown world with disastrous consequences, full of people with very poor thinking and analysis capabilities, very little experience in the world as well, by the way. I don't care if they went in the military, became a general, became part of a politician or part of a US administration. I don't care. They're still inexperienced people of the world and what the world really is. So do I support that whole system, which is all about, again, you could easily argue is all about making money through selling weapons and all sorts of other things like that, right? So these arguments are made. Some of that's definitely true. So do I support that system? Is that what you're asking me? Of which Israel is a tiny, tiny pawn in that game? Do I support that whole thing? No, I don't, because we have other solutions to all this. So I don't support Israel as it is, as a little cog in a wheel of a worldwide massive military and a Western or American political news, media news complex, right? And all those other little things you can add in there. Big Pharma is one of them, right? They've faded. So if you ask me, do I support Israel, you're literally asking me, do I support a massive entity that causes massive damage around the world in ways that I think are irrational, stupid, almost evil, you know, and borderline always putting us on the verge of World War III. Do I support them? No, I don't. I don't support Biden. I don't support Trump. I don't support any of them right now. None of them are any good. Tell me about someone who's any good, and I can tell you where there's massive holes, that are dangerous holes in their thinking. So, yeah, there were atrocities committed, so that's the first thing everyone jumps on you for. They weren't what you were told, and this thing has been going on for decades, and in fact, the whole thing's been going on my whole life. So do I support Israel? I support 1986 Israel, no borders, no fences, everybody in a real, but evolving to a proper democracy for everybody, and change the name. That's what I support. So you tell me that I don't support Israel if all I'm saying is change the name from what it should have been before in 1986. It should have been that culture and that society, democratic, and becoming more and more democratic and more integrated. Yeah, I support that Israel with a different name, peace country, in the ancient Semitic Abrahamic languages. That's what I support, all right? So I don't support the military-industrial massive complex, of which Israel is a tiny pawn, cog in that giant complex. And I don't support the Israel of today, because it's not the Israel I knew, which was a much better Israel. And I would just change the name, all right? No doubt there'll be lots of people come up with different ways of talking about this. There's 1,000 solutions being given, like I say, to this problem going on right now. None of them are solutions. It's a joke right now. So come up with solutions. Tell me where I'm wrong. Ask me questions, because I would like to think more about it. If people ask me questions, maybe I can bring in some more interesting points that I may not have covered here, because this is the most complex topic, one of the most complex around right now. Is Israel, Palestine, the history of that region, etc. Right? Okay, bye for now.